A millionaire CEO visits his ex-wife after 7 years and is shocked by a secret she's been hiding, a secret that will change their lives forever. Before we begin the story, leave a comment telling us what city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. The black luxury car stopped in front of the rusty gate of the farm. Ethan Cole stepped out, holding in his hands the piece of paper that had brought him back after 7 years. A letter with no sender, handwritten with only one sentence: "You need to see what you left behind." Those words echoed in his mind like a challenge. He, the man who had it all, wealth, influence, power, was now standing on the land he once swore never to step on again. But something in that letter had pulled him out of New York and driven him all the way to Willow Creek, as if the past still had something to say. On the other side of the fence, a woman was bent down working the soil. The afternoon sun lit up her blonde hair, now shorter and tied back under a scarf. Ethan held his breath. Lena Brooks. Her name rang in his mind like a forbidden memory. The ex-wife he had loved, lost, and tried to erase from his memory. There she was, alive, strong, covered in dirt, and smiling. A simple, natural smile, like someone who didn't need anything more than that patch of land. He stood there, just watching. The contrast between them was almost cruel. He, in a suit, Italian shoes covered in dust, she with her hands in the dirt, free from everything money could buy. Ethan tried to convince himself it didn't affect him. But it did, more than he wanted to admit. When Lena looked up and saw him, the smile disappeared. Time seemed to stop between them. She slowly dropped the shovel, wiping her hands on her jeans. Her voice came out sharp, steady. Well, the city prince is back." Ethan swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. "Hi, Lena. It's been a while. 7 years, to be exact." She crossed her arms. "And now you show up. Why?" Ethan hesitated. "I got a letter." She raised an eyebrow, her tone full of irony. "Wasn't from me," she said quickly. "I don't write to ghosts." He took a deep breath. "The letter said I needed to see what I left behind." Lena gave a short, bitter laugh. "Then take a good look, Ethan, because what you left behind already learned how to live without you." The words hit him hard. Ethan tried to respond, but she turned away, going back to work. He wasn't sure if he should insist or walk away, until he heard a sound from the house, a soft, childlike laugh. He turned instinctively. At the window, a little girl was watching, curious. Red hair, fair skin, and grayish eyes, the same eyes as his. Ethan froze. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. Forgot time, the world. The girl looked at him with the innocence of someone who doesn't understand, but feels. His heart sped up, like it recognized something impossible. Lena noticed the look and turned immediately. Her smile vanished for good. "Emily," she called out, her voice firm, mixing shock and warning. "Go inside, sweetie." The girl disappeared behind the curtain. Ethan kept staring at the window, trying to understand what he had just seen. "Who is she, Lena?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lena took a deep breath and walked toward him slowly, her face tense. "That's none of your business. That little girl, she has... That's enough, Ethan." She cut him off, cold. "You lost the right to ask questions a long time ago." He tried to stay calm, but something inside him broke. "Are you saying that? I'm saying you should leave." Her tone was sharp, but her eyes betrayed emotion. "Willow Creek is no longer your place." He wanted to insist, but something in her voice made him stop. She wasn't angry, she was hurt. And no matter what he said, it would come out wrong. Ethan looked down, then back at her. "Are you okay?" Lena gave a humorless laugh. "Better than I've ever been. And please, don't come back here thinking you can fix things with the charm and money you used in New York. Life here doesn't take checks." He took a deep breath. For a moment, he thought about saying everything, about the nights he thought of her, about the regret that haunted him. But her look silenced him. Nothing he said would undo what he had done. Ethan stepped back once, then again. As he turned toward the car, he saw the girl's reflection in the window once more. She was watching him again, her little hand pressed against the glass, curious, as if trying to figure out who that stranger was. He couldn't look away. That child felt far too familiar. Something about her shook everything he thought he had buried. Lena, noticing the silence, followed his gaze, and her face hardened. "That conversation, Ethan, will have to wait," he nodded slowly. But inside, the doubt was already burning. As he got into the car, he glanced back at the house one last time. The curtain moved, and those same gray eyes were watching him again. The road out felt longer than before. On the passenger seat, the mysterious note fluttered in the breeze. "You need to see what you left behind." Ethan clenched the paper in his fingers as if trying to squeeze answers from it. Who sent it, and why now? But more than anything, one question wouldn't leave his mind. That little girl. Could it be? For the first time in years, the man who had everything felt afraid of losing what truly mattered, even if he didn't yet know what was still left. As the car disappeared down the road, the sun set behind the hills of Willow Creek, and from inside the house, a small voice asked, "Mommy? Who was that man?" Lena answered softly, almost in a whisper. "A ghost, sweetheart. Just a ghost." But deep down she knew. Ghosts only return when something's unfinished. Night fell over Willow Creek like a heavy blanket. Ethan drove through the narrow streets of town, taking in the soft yellow glow of the houses, the quiet movement of people on the sidewalks. Everything there felt frozen in time, exactly as he remembered. The bakery on the corner, the faded sign at the gas station, the little park with the wooden benches where he and Lena used to sit. He gripped the steering wheel tightly. He should have stayed away. Should have ignored that letter and gone on with his life in New York, where everything made sense, where things were predictable and under control. But he couldn't. Not after seeing that girl at the window. Those gray eyes that looked like a mirror of the past. The car stopped in front of the Meadowbrook Inn, a 2-story white building with wooden porches. It was the only place to stay in town, and Ethan knew that. He grabbed his suitcase from the trunk and walked in, greeted by a gray-haired woman who recognized him right away. "Ethan Cole? My goodness, it's been so long." He forced a polite smile. "Good evening, Mrs. Patterson. I need a room for a few days." She looked at him with barely hidden curiosity, but handed him the key without asking questions. As he climbed the creaky stairs, Ethan felt the weight of each step. He was back in the place he swore he'd never set foot in again. And worse, he was there because of a suspicion he couldn't shake. That girl. Emily. Could it be? He dropped his bag on the floor of the simple room and sat on the edge of the bed, holding his head in his hands. The truth was, he didn't know anything. He didn't know what Lena had gone through after he left. He didn't know if she had remarried, if she had rebuilt her life, if that child belonged to another man. But something inside him screamed that she didn't. The eyes. Those eyes. Ethan stood and walked over to the window, staring out at the distant lights from Lena's farm. Doubt burned through him like fire, but he knew he couldn't just show up at her door demanding answers. Not after 7 years. Not after everything. He needed a plan. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan Cole had no idea what to do next. The next morning, the sun rose bright and warm over Willow Creek. Ethan woke early, still getting used to the silence of the small town. In New York, he woke to honking horns, sirens, the frantic rhythm of the streets. Here, all he heard were birds singing and the wind in the trees. He had a quick breakfast at the inn and left without a clear plan. Or rather, he had a very clear destination, but no courage to admit it. His feet led him down the dirt road, past scattered homes, until, almost without realizing it, he was once again standing in front of the rusted gate of the farm. He stopped there, uncertain. Should he go back? Should he wait? Should he? If you're thinking about ringing the bell, I won't answer. Ethan turned quickly. Lena stood on the other side of the fence, holding a toolbox and wearing worn-out work gloves. Her blonde hair was tied in a messy ponytail, and there was a grease smudge on her face. She looked at him with that mix of amusement and irritation he knew so well. "I was just passing by." "Oh, sure. Because New York is right around the corner, right?" Lena rolled her eyes and walked toward a broken fence at the edge of the property. Ethan hesitated but followed her. "Can I help?" She gave a short laugh without looking at him. "You? Help? With what exactly? Gonna call your personal assistant to fix the fence?" He swallowed the jab and stepped closer. "I do know how to do a few things, you know." "Really?" Lena turned, resting one hand on her hip. "Name one thing you know how to do without paying someone else to do it for you." Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but couldn't think of anything right away. Lena smiled, triumphant, and went back to work. He watched as she tried to hammer a nail into the wood. The fence was crooked, old, and clearly needed more than a quick fix. Lena hit it hard, but the nail bent. She let out an impatient sigh, pulled the nail out, and tried again. This time, as she struck, the hammer slipped from her hand and landed straight on her foot. Ow, darn it! She hopped on one foot, holding the other, her face twisted in pain. Ethan quickly stepped closer. Are you okay? I'm great, she replied, still hopping. I love starting the day by hitting my own foot with a hammer. It's my favorite hobby. He couldn't help but laugh. Lena stopped hopping and stared at him, serious. Are you laughing at me? No? Ethan tried to hide it, but the smile was still on his face. You are laughing. She crossed her arms, pretending to be offended. You know, instead of standing there like a statue, you could actually help. Ethan picked the hammer up from the ground and looked at the fence. Let me see that. Oh, so now you're an expert? Lena stepped aside but kept watching. He lined up the nail and hit it carefully. The nail went in crooked. Lena burst out laughing. Oh yes, the great New York businessman. Look at those skills. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. This wood is too old. It needs to be replaced. Thank you, Captain Obvious. She took the hammer back. Now step aside before you mess up anything else. He stepped back, but didn't leave. He stayed there, watching as she tried again. This time, Lena tripped over a rock and almost fell flat on her face. She caught herself at the last second and started laughing, shaking her head. Seriously, Lena, are you okay? Ethan asked, genuinely concerned. I'm perfect. She stood up, brushing dirt off her hands. I'm just having a productive day. I've stepped on a hammer, almost fell face first in the dirt, and I've got you watching me like I'm some kind of circus act. That's not it. It's just that. He paused, searching for the right words. You seem happy. Her smile slowly faded. And that surprises you? No, I just thought you'd be different. Different how? Lena crossed her arms. Crying in the corners? Waiting for you to come back? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Ethan? He said nothing. He had no answer. Lena sighed and went back to working on the fence, but the mood had changed. The lightness from before was gone, replaced by a tension neither of them wanted to admit. After a few minutes, Ethan gathered some courage. The little girl I saw yesterday, Emily, is she? No. Lena cut him off without looking at him. We're not having this conversation. Lena, I just want to know, and I just want you to leave. She turned around, her face serious. You don't get to show up after 7 years and start asking questions. I have the right to know the truth. The truth? Lena stepped toward him, eyes shining. You want to know the truth? The truth is you left. The truth is you left me here, alone, and never looked back. I had my reasons. Reasons? She let out a bitter laugh. Reasons don't change the fact that you made a choice, Ethan. You chose your career, your money, your perfect life in New York. And now you show up wanting to know what I did with mine? He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I just want to understand. Stay out of things that no longer concern you. Her voice came out firm, sharp. Ethan stood there, taking in her words. Lena walked away, grabbing the toolbox. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. He watched her walk back toward the house, her shoulders tense, her posture strong. He knew he'd crossed a line. He knew she wouldn't give in easily. But at the same time, he knew he couldn't just walk away. That girl, Emily, he needed to know the truth. And if Lena wouldn't tell him, then he'd have to find out on his own. Ethan turned and walked back to the gate, but before leaving, he looked once more at the house. In the upstairs window, the curtain moved. For a brief second, he saw the girl's face again, watching with that same innocent curiosity. His heart tightened. Yes, he was going to find out the truth, with or without Lena's help. Dawn slowly arrived over Willow Creek. Ethan had barely slept. He'd spent the whole night tossing in the narrow bed at the inn, thinking about those gray eyes, that girl in the window, Lena's harsh words. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emily's face. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. He got up early, had a tasteless coffee in the empty dining room of the inn, and left. He didn't have a clear plan, but he knew he couldn't just sit and wait. If Lena wasn't going to talk, he had to find another way to learn the truth. And somehow, his feet led him back toward the farm. This time, he didn't go all the way to the gate. He stopped before it, hiding behind a group of trees that lined the property. He felt ridiculous, like a teenager spying on his girlfriend's house. but he couldn't help it. That's when he heard it. A light, clear laugh coming from the stream that ran along the side of the farm. Ethan moved slowly, peeking through the branches. And there she was, Emily. The girl was playing alone near the water, crouched by the edge, messing with something in her hands. She wore a simple cotton dress and rubber boots that were too big for her feet. Her red hair shone in the morning light, loose and messy. Ethan stood still, just watching. She looked so alive, so free. She laughed to herself as she stacked little stones, talked to herself, and hummed a tune he didn't recognize. There was something magical about it. Something that made his chest tighten in a way he couldn't explain. Suddenly, Emily looked up and stared right at where he was. Ethan froze. She frowned, curious, and tilted her head to the side. "Is someone there?" she asked, her voice loud and clear. He didn't answer, trying to hide better. But as he moved, he stepped on a dry branch. The snap echoed like a gunshot. Emily's eyes went wide, and she quickly stood up. "I know someone's there," she said, putting her hands on her hips in a defiant pose that looked just like Lena. Ethan sighed. There was no way out now. He slowly stepped out from behind the trees, his hands raised in peace. "Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." Emily looked him up and down, suspicious, but with a little smile on her lips. "You're the man with the fancy car, right?" Ethan couldn't hold back a laugh. "That's me." "And you're the brave girl who's not afraid of strangers?" She shrugged. "My mom says I should be afraid, but you don't look dangerous, you just look lost." Her honesty caught him off guard. "Yeah, I guess I am." Emily took a few steps closer, still keeping a safe distance. "What are you doing here?" "I was just walking." "Spying, you mean?" She crossed her arms, perfectly copying her mother's posture. "I saw you behind the trees." Ethan chuckled, a little embarrassed. "You're pretty sharp, huh?" "My mom says I'm too smart for my own good." Emily smiled. "She says that when I ask questions, she doesn't want to answer." "Like what kind of questions?" "Like why I don't have a dad like the other kids." Silence fell between them like a stone. Ethan felt his heart race. He opened his mouth to speak, but didn't know what to say. Emily went on, casually. "But it's okay. My mom is enough. She's the best mom in the whole world. She knows how to do everything. Fix fences, plant tomatoes, even drive a tractor. She sounds amazing." "She is." Emily grinned. "And she's funny too. Yesterday she tripped on a bucket and fell in the mud. She looked like a swamp monster." Ethan laughed, picturing the scene. "I bet she was mad." "Nope. She laughed so hard I thought she was going to pee her pants." Emily burst out laughing, and Ethan couldn't help but laugh with her. But suddenly, Lena's voice cut through the air. "Emily!" They both turned at the same time. Lena was walking down the dirt path, her face red, eyes shining with anger. "Emily, go inside, now." The girl looked at Ethan, then at her mom, confused. "But Mom, I was just—" "Now, Emily." Lena's tone left no room for argument. Emily gave Ethan one last look, a mix of curiosity and concern, before running toward the house. When the girl disappeared through the back door, Lena turned to Ethan, her face burning with fury. "What do you think you're doing?" "I was just spying on my daughter." Lena took a step toward him. "Have you lost your mind?" "That's not what happened. I just wanted to see her." "See her?" Lena let out a humorless laugh. "You have no right to see anything, no right to show up here, snooping around my property, talking to her." Ethan took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Lena, please, I just need to know." "Know what?" She cut him off, arms crossed. He looked straight into her eyes. "Is she my daughter?" The silence was deafening. Lena stared at him for a long moment, her face unreadable. Then finally, she spoke, her voice cold and quiet. "You lost the right to ask questions 7 years ago." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." Ethan felt frustration rising inside him. "Why are you doing this? Why can't you just tell me the truth?" "Because you don't deserve it." Her voice rose, full of emotion. "You left, Ethan. You walked away and never looked back. And now you think you can just show up and demand answers like nothing ever happened?" "I know I messed up. I know I was a fool. But that doesn't change the fact that I have the right to know if I have a daughter." "A right?" Lena stepped toward him, her eyes shining. "You think you earn a right by disappearing for 7 years? You think you can just show up and claim something you were never here to build and don't even know really belongs to you?" Ethan opened his mouth but couldn't speak. Lena took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. "Go away, Ethan. Go back to your life in New York and leave me alone." "I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly. "Not until I get answers. Then you'll be waiting forever." She turned and started walking back toward the house. Ethan stood there watching her walk away, his chest tight, his mind spinning. He knew he had crossed a line. He knew Lena had every reason to hate him. But he couldn't just walk away. Not after seeing Emily. Not after feeling that strange connection. He went back to the inn with a heavy heart. As soon as he stepped into the room, his phone rang. It was Jennifer, his assistant in New York. "Mr. Cole, finally? I've been trying to reach you for hours." "What is it, Jennifer?" "We have a problem. A big one." Her voice was tense. "A few important contracts have been canceled with no explanation. Suppliers are pulling out, and the shareholders are calling for an emergency meeting." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean canceled? Who authorized that?" "No one knows. It looks like someone is sabotaging the company from the inside." His blood ran cold. "Sabotaging?" "Yes, sir. And if we don't fix it soon, we could lose everything." Ethan looked out the window, staring at the distant lights of Lena's farm. He should go back. He should catch the next flight to New York and fix it. It was his company, his career, everything he had worked for over the past 7 years. But for the first time in his life, Ethan Cole hesitated. "Jennifer, I need a few more days here." "But sir, the situation is critical. If you don't come back now, I know." He cut her off, his voice steady. "But there are things more important than money." There was a surprised silence on the other end. "Sir, are you okay?" Ethan gave a bitter smile. "I think I'm starting to be." He hung up and sat on the edge of the bed, holding his head in his hands. Someone was sabotaging his company. Someone wanted to destroy him. And for the first time in 7 years, Ethan realized, maybe he didn't care all that much, because in the end, what really mattered was on the other side of that rusty fence. And he wasn't giving up until he found the truth. The next 2 days were quiet torture. Ethan tried everything to get close to Lena again. He walked by the farm a few times, pretending to just be out for a stroll. He showed up at the local market exactly when he knew she did her shopping. He even chatted with a few locals, hoping to hear something about Emily. But Lena avoided him like the plague. Every time their eyes met, she turned away. When he tried to get close, she just walked off. And with every rejection, Ethan felt his frustration building. Then, on the morning of the 3rd day, everything changed. Ethan was having coffee at the inn when he overheard 2 women talking at the next table. "Did you hear Lena's farm is in trouble?" "In trouble how?" "A big construction company wants to buy her land. They say they're going to turn it all into a fancy housing development." Ethan almost choked on his coffee. "And Lena's going to sell?" "Of course not. You know that woman, stubborn as they come. But they say the company's putting on the pressure, offering big money, and if she doesn't take it, they'll try other ways." Ethan's chest tightened. A construction company trying to buy land in Willow Creek. Aggressive offers, pressure. It all sounded way too familiar. He picked up his phone and called Jennifer. "I need information. Is the company working on any land deals in Willow Creek?" On the other end, Jennifer hesitated. "Willow Creek? Yes, sir. There's a project in progress. Rural land acquisition for high-end residential development." His blood ran cold. "Who approved that?" "It was signed off 3 months ago before you took over as CEO. The person in charge of the project is Mr. Gregory Hale." Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the weight of it all. Gregory Hale, his former business partner, the man he had replaced as company president after a tough corporate battle. The same man who, apparently, was now sabotaging the company from the inside. And now he had found out that Gregory was trying to buy Lena's farm. It couldn't be a coincidence. He hung up the phone and ran out of the inn. He had to talk to Lena, right now. When he arrived at the farm, he found Lena in the barn, organizing bags of feed. "Lena, we need to talk." She didn't even look at him. "We have nothing to talk about. It's about the construction company, the one trying to buy your land." This time, she stopped. She slowly turned around, her face hardened. "How do you know about that?" "Because the company is mine." The silence that followed was sharp. Lena stared at him, her eyes glowing with anger. Of course it is." She let out a bitter laugh. "I should have known. You didn't come back because of some mystery letter. You came back because you want my farm." "No, Lena, I swear I didn't know." Liar. She threw a bag of feed on the floor. You've always been good at lying, Ethan. Always good at pretending to care while planning your next move. I'm not lying. I just found out. The project was approved before I became CEO. I had no idea that. Oh, how convenient. Lena crossed her arms. And I'm supposed to believe you? After everything? Ethan took a step toward her. Lena, please. I know you have every reason not to trust me. I know I ruined everything between us, but I'm telling you the truth. I didn't come here to take your farm. Then why did you come? He took a deep breath. Because I got a letter, because something pulled me back, and because I saw Emily. The name seemed to echo through the barn. Lena looked away, her jaw tight. Don't do this. I just want the truth, Lena. That's all. The truth. She stepped toward him, her face flushed. The truth is you have no right to show up here and mess up my life again. The truth is I built all of this by myself. Without you, without anyone. And now you think you can just... She waved her arms angrily, not noticing the bucket of mud beside her. Her foot hit the bucket, and in slow motion, the bucket tipped over, spilling mud directly onto Ethan. He stood still, completely covered in thick, smelly brown mud, arms open, his face dripping. Lena's eyes widened, her mouth open in shock. For a second, neither of them moved. Then Lena started laughing. It wasn't a little chuckle. It was a loud, spontaneous laugh that echoed through the whole barn. Oh my gosh! She bent over, laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. You look like a swamp monster. Ethan looked at himself, still trying to process what had just happened. And, against all odds, he started laughing too. Seriously? He asked, trying to wipe his face. You think this is funny? Very. Lena could barely breathe. Now you're ready for some real work. She walked over, still laughing, and grabbed an old cloth hanging on the wall. Here, before you scare the chickens. Ethan took the cloth and started wiping his face, but the mud was everywhere. This isn't coming off that easy. Welcome to farm life, Mr. Big Shot. Lena smiled, but there was something different in her eyes now. Something lighter. For a moment, the tension between them seemed to fade. Ethan took advantage of it. Lena, I know you don't trust me, and I get it. But I swear I didn't know about the construction company. And I'll do everything I can to stop them from taking this place from you. Her smile slowly faded. Why do you care? He looked straight into her eyes. Because this farm has always been your dream, and because I've already taken too much from you. Lena looked away, biting her lip. You can't fix the past, Ethan. I know, but I can try not to mess up the present. She stayed quiet for a long moment, then sighed. You're all dirty. You'll scare my daughter if she sees you like this. So, can I clean up here? Lena hesitated but eventually nodded. There's a hose outside. Don't use hot water because we don't have any. Ethan smiled. Thanks. She turned to leave but paused at the door. Ethan? Yeah? If you're lying, if you're here to take my farm, I swear I'll make you pay. He nodded, serious. I'm not lying. Lena looked at him one last time before walking out. And for the first time since coming back, Ethan felt like there might still be a chance. Later, back in his room at the inn, Ethan opened his laptop and started digging through company files. He needed to understand exactly what Gregory was planning. He spent hours going through documents, contracts, and emails, and the more he read, the clearer it became. Gregory wasn't just trying to buy Lena's farm. He was using the project as a way to funnel money out of the company. Fake contracts, overpriced payments, deals with phantom suppliers. And if Ethan didn't act, it wouldn't just be Lena who lost everything. He would too. Gregory was playing a much more dangerous game than Ethan had imagined. A game that involved corporate sabotage, fraud, and apparently a personal vendetta. Ethan closed the lap, his heart racing. He had to protect Lena. He had to stop Gregory, and he had to save the company. But for the first time in his life, he had no idea where to begin. He picked up his phone and typed a message to Jennifer. I need every document related to the Willow Creek project. And I want to know everything about Gregory Hale, every move he's made in the past 6 months. The reply came quickly. Understood. But sir, this could get ugly. Ethan took a deep breath. It's already ugly. Now it's time to clean up the mess. He looked out the window toward the distant lights of the farm. Lena was there, probably putting Emily to bed, with no idea that a storm was about to crash down on her. And this time, Ethan was determined to be her shield. Even if it meant losing everything, Ethan woke up early, determined. If Lena wouldn't accept his help directly, he'd find another way. And the perfect opportunity came when Mrs. Patterson mentioned over breakfast that it was market day in town. Lena always goes, sells veggies from the farm. Poor thing, she hauls everything by herself. Ethan didn't think twice. He threw on a plain shirt, jeans, and headed straight to the town square, where colorful stalls were set up under old trees. The air was filled with the smell of fresh bread, fruit, and flowers. There was live music, kids running around, and people chatting everywhere. And there was Lena. She was setting up her stall in the corner of the square, arranging boxes of tomatoes, lettuce, carrots, and other vegetables. She wore a light cotton shirt, jeans, and her hair was tied back in a ponytail. She looked tired but determined. Ethan walked up slowly. "Need a hand?" Lena looked up and nearly dropped a box of tomatoes. "You again? Good morning to you too." He smiled. "Ethan, I already told you I don't need your help. I know, but I'm offering it anyway." She looked him over, suspicious. "Do you know anything about selling vegetables?" "How hard can it be?" Lena let out a short laugh. Famous last words. But surprisingly, she didn't send him away. "Fine, but if you mess something up, it's on you." Ethan smiled, relieved. "Deal." Half an hour later, Ethan was already regretting it. The first customer was a sweet older lady who asked for 3 ripe tomatoes. "Sure." Ethan grabbed the first ones he saw and put them in a bag. The woman picked one up and gave it a gentle squeeze. She frowned. "This one's not ripe, dear." "Not ripe?" Ethan looked at the red tomato in her hand. Red on the outside but green inside. "Won't do." Lena, standing next to him, tried not to laugh. "I'll take care of it, Mrs. Helen." The woman walked away with the right tomatoes, and Lena turned to Ethan, trying to keep a straight face. "Green. You picked a green tomato." "They're red, on the outside." She shook her head. "You have to give them a light squeeze to check if they're ripe." "No one taught me that in business school." "Well, they should have." The next customer was even worse. A man asked for fresh lettuce, and Ethan grabbed the first one he saw. "How much?" Ethan looked at Lena, unsure. $3, $3. Lena's eyes went wide. "Ethan, it's $1.50. The man laughed. "Are you trying to scam me or what?" "No, I just got mixed up." Lena nudged Ethan aside and handled the sale herself. The customer walked away chuckling. Once they were alone again, she crossed her arms. "You're terrible at this. I noticed. Seriously, it's impressive. You're even bad at selling lettuce." All right, I get it." But Lena was smiling. A small, genuine smile. And that made it all worth it. As the hours passed, Ethan started to get the hang of it. He learned how to pick the tomatoes, weigh the carrots, chat with the customers. And to his surprise, he was having fun. At one point, a little girl asked for strawberries. Ethan picked the best ones, put them in a bag, and handed them to her with a smile. "Here you go, sweetheart. The best strawberries at the market." The girl smiled back and skipped away. Lena watched him, her expression soft. "You're getting better." "I had a good teacher." She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. In the middle of the afternoon, a strong gust of wind knocked over a stack of empty boxes. Ethan rushed to grab them, but tripped on a carrot and nearly fell face first into the stall. Lena burst out laughing. "You're a walking disaster. Thanks for the support." Ethan got up, laughing too. "Seriously, how do you survive in New York? I don't have to deal with killer carrots over there." For the first time in years, they laughed together. No bitterness, no tension. Just 2 old acquaintances sharing a light moment. And in that instant, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. When the fair ended, they loaded the empty boxes back into Lena's truck. "Thanks for the help," she said, her voice sincere. "It was a pleasure, even with the disasters." Lena smiled. "You weren't that terrible. At least you didn't scare anyone." "Is that a compliment?" "As close as you'll get from me." They looked at each other for a moment, and something passed between them. Something old, familiar. Lena looked away first. "Well, I need to head home." "Can I go with you?" Ethan asked, almost without thinking. She hesitated. "Ethan, I know. Just let me help with the boxes. Then I'll leave." Lena sighed but nodded. Back at the farm, Ethan helped unload the boxes. While Lena went inside, he saw the old wooden swing in the yard. It was broken, the rope worn, the seat cracked. Without thinking too much, he grabbed some tools from the barn and started fixing it. He replaced the rope, sanded the wood, reinforced the knots. He worked in silence, focused, his hands moving with a skill he didn't even know he had. Lena stepped onto the porch, watching from a distance. "What are you doing?" "Fixing it." He tested the swing, which was now steady. "Remember?" She stayed quiet. Of course she remembered. That swing was where they used to sit years ago, dreaming about the future. Talking about the farm they'd have one day, the kids they'd raise, the simple life they'd build together. Lena slowly came down the steps, still unsure. "Why did you do this?" "Because it was broken. And because I wanted to." She sat on the swing, testing it. She swung gently, eyes distant. "I forgot this swing was even here." "I didn't." Lena looked at him, her expression soft, vulnerable. "Ethan, what do you want from me?" He took a deep breath. "I don't know. Maybe a second chance, or at least an honest conversation." "We already talked." "No, we argued. That's different." She stayed quiet, gently swinging. Ethan sat on the ground beside the swing. "I know I messed everything up. I know I have no right to ask for anything. But I miss this. I miss us." Lena looked away, her eyes teary. "Don't do this. I'm sorry. I just needed to say it." She stood up quickly, wiping her eyes. "It's getting late. You should go." Ethan stood up too, but hesitated. "Lena, it's already dark, and the inn is far. Would it be okay if I stayed here tonight?" She looked at him, surprised. "Here? On the couch, or anywhere. I promise I won't bother you." Lena crossed her arms, thinking, "It's not a good idea." "I know, but it's really late," she sighed, giving in. "Fine, but just for tonight. And you sleep in the guest room." "Thank you." Lena set up a small room at the back of the house. It was simple, with a twin bed, a nightstand, and a window facing the yard. "Clean sheets are over there. Bathrooms down the hall. And keep it quiet. Emily's asleep." "Got it." She was about to leave, but stopped at the door. "Ethan?" "Yes? Thank you. For today, it was nice having company." He smiled. "It was nice for me too." When Lena left, Ethan sat on the bed, still processing the day. He picked up his phone to check his messages. There was a new one, from an unknown number. He opened it, and his blood ran cold. "If you keep digging, you'll lose the company and the family you think you still have." Ethan read the message 3 times, his heart racing. Who had sent it? Gregory? And what did it mean? The family you think you still have? Was it about Emily? He looked toward the closed door, thinking of Lena sleeping in the next room, and Emily upstairs. Someone was threatening everything he was trying to rebuild. And this time, Ethan wasn't going to let the past repeat itself. He was going to protect that family, even if it cost him everything. Ethan couldn't sleep. The anonymous message echoed in his mind like a dark warning. He lay on the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out who had sent it and what exactly it meant. It had to be Gregory. It had to be. But how did he know Ethan was in Willow Creek? How did he know about Emily? The questions kept piling up, without answers. Then he heard the first thunder. The sound echoed through the house, loud and threatening. Ethan got up and went to the window. The sky, once full of stars, was now covered in heavy, dark clouds. The wind had picked up, shaking the trees. A storm was coming. And judging by those clouds, it was going to be a big one. The second thunder was even louder. Ethan heard hurried footsteps in the hallway. It was Lena, coming down the stairs quickly. He opened the bedroom door. "Lena?" She stopped, surprised to see him awake. "The storm's getting bad. I need to protect the animals." "Let me help." "Ethan, you don't have to." Another thunderclap tore through the air, followed by a flash of lightning that lit everything up for a second. Lena looked out the window, and her expression changed. "All right, let's go. Hurry." They both ran out of the house. The rain started falling the moment they stepped into the yard, heavy, cold drops that quickly turned into a violent downpour. "The horses!" Lena shouted, running toward the stable. Ethan followed her, shielding his face from the rain. Inside the stable, the 2 horses neighed nervously, spooked by the thunder. Lena moved closer, speaking softly, trying to calm them. "Easy, easy. It's all right." Ethan helped close the doors and reinforce the locks. The rain pounded the roof, and the wind howled outside. "Oh my God, the chickens!" Lena suddenly remembered. "I forgot the chickens!" She ran back into the rain before Ethan could stop her. He went after her. The chicken coop was on the other side of the yard. Lena got there first, opened the little door, and tried to count the birds in the middle of the chaos. "3 are missing," she shouted, her voice nearly drowned out by the storm. "Lena, I'll find them." Ethan searched the area soaked, looking for the runaway chickens. He found one hiding under a bush, another behind a barrel, and the third trying to take shelter under the truck. He gathered all three and brought them back to Lena, who put them inside the coop and locked it up. Done. Now. Lightning split the sky and struck the barn. The flash was so bright it blinded them for a second. The sound, deafening. When their vision cleared, there was fire. Flames were spreading fast across the barn's roof, driven by the wind. No, 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 Lena screamed, running toward the fire. Lena, wait, don't go. But she was already there, grabbing buckets, filling them with water from the hose, throwing it at the flames. Ethan ran to help. The two of them fought the fire under the pouring rain, a scene of pure chaos. The flames held on, stubborn, fed by dry wood. But the rain helped too, putting out the smaller patches. Ethan climbed a ladder, pouring water directly on the roof. Lena shouted instructions, directing the effort. It took nearly half an hour, but they managed to get the fire under control. When the last flames died out, they both collapsed to the ground, exhausted, soaked, covered in soot. The rain was still falling, but lighter now. Lena looked at the scorched barn and started laughing, a low, almost hysterical laugh. You think that's funny? Ethan asked out of breath. No, it's ridiculous. She laughed louder. All of this is completely ridiculous. Ethan looked at her, at the burned barn, at the storm easing up, and started laughing too. They sat there in the mud, laughing like crazy. We almost died, Lena said between laughs. And you're laughing about it, because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. Ethan looked at her, his smile slowly fading. Hey, it's okay. The barn can be fixed. Lena stopped laughing. Her face turned serious. It's not just the barn, Ethan. It's everything. It's this farm, this life. It's you being back here, messing things up again. I loved you more than I should have. Her voice was low, full of emotion. I loved you so much I forgot to love myself. And you didn't even care. You left. Ethan felt his chest tighten. I did care. I always cared. Then why did you leave? Because I was an idiot. Because I thought money and success were more important than you. And I've spent the last 7 years realizing how wrong I was. Lena looked away, the rain mixing with the tears on her face. I never stopped thinking about you. Ethan went on. I never stopped regretting it. And now, seeing you here, seeing everything you've built on your own, I see how much I lost. Lena stayed silent for a long moment. Then she slowly stood up. But now it's too late for regrets, Ethan. And she walked away, leaving him there, alone in the rain. When the sun came up, the damage was clear. Part of the crops had been destroyed by the flood. The water had washed away whole rows of vegetables, leaving behind only mud and ripped-up plants. Lena was standing in the middle of the garden, trying to save what she could. Her face pale, eyes red, hands shaking. Ethan walked up slowly. Let me help. You don't need to, Lena, please. She turned to him, her face shut tight. You don't get it, Ethan. That harvest was all I had. It was going to pay the bills for the next few months. And now I've got nothing. I can get you financial support. I can bring in new equipment, seeds. No, she cut him off, furious. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's help. It's the same thing. Lena shouted. You always tried to fix everything with money, Ethan. You always thought you could buy your way out. But some things can't be bought. I just want to help. Then leave me alone. Tears were streaming down her face. Let me deal with this my own way. She went back to digging in the mud, desperate. Ethan stood there, helpless. That's when he heard Emily's voice. Mommy? They both turned around. Emily was on the porch, pale and shaking. Mommy, I don't feel good, and she fainted. Lena got there first, catching Emily in her arms. Emily, baby, wake up, please. The girl was burning up. Oh my God, she has a fever. Lena shouted, panicked. Let's get her to the hospital, now. Ethan ran to the truck. Lena carried Emily, who woke up confused, softly moaning. Ethan drove faster than ever, hands tight on the wheel. At the hospital, a nurse took Emily right in to be examined. Lena followed, holding her daughter's hand, whispering comforting words. Ethan waited in the hallway, pacing nervously, heart racing. Half an hour later, the doctor came out. The girl has a respiratory infection. Probably from the rain and cold, but nothing serious. We'll treat her and she'll be fine. Lena sighed in relief. Can I see her? Of course, she's asking for you. Lena went into the room and Ethan followed. Emily was lying in bed, pale but awake. Hi, Mommy. Her voice was weak. Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Tired. The doctor checked the chart and looked at Ethan. "You're the child's father, right?" The silence hit like a bomb. Ethan looked at Lena, Lena looked at Emily, and said nothing. The doctor noticed the tension and quietly stepped out. Ethan stood by the bed looking at Emily. "Hi, little one. Hi, man with the fancy car." She gave a faint smile. He smiled back, but his eyes were full of tears. Lena watched, torn. There was something in the way Ethan looked at Emily. Something real. Something that reminded her of the man she once loved. Hours later, Emily slept peacefully, sedated. Lena and Ethan sat in chairs outside the room. The hallway was empty, quiet. "Lena," Ethan finally spoke. "I need to know the truth." She stayed silent. "Please, just tell me." Lena took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the floor. "You want answers after 7 years? A little late for that. I know, but I'm asking anyway." She looked at him, eyes shining. "Yes, Emily is your daughter." Time stopped. Ethan felt his knees go weak. I wrote letters." Lena continued, her voice trembling. "I sent you letters telling you, but they all came back. You disappeared. My family's lawyers." Ethan tried to explain. "They cut me off from everything, blocked my contacts, controlled my mail. Convenient, isn't it?" Lena interrupted, the irony heavy with sadness. "It wasn't convenient, it was a nightmare." Lena looked away. "When you left, I was 2 months pregnant. I didn't know. I only found out because I started getting really sick." Ethan looked at her, hanging on every word. "And it wasn't just one baby, it was twins. A boy and a girl." His heart stopped. "Twins?" Lena nodded, tears starting to fall. "The pregnancy was awful. I couldn't do anything. I had to stay in bed, and I had no one to help me. Until my neighbor showed up, a kind woman who took care of me. But even then I had to work. I had to buy things for the babies." Ethan held his breath. "The delivery, it was awful." Lena sobbed. "It lasted hours, and when they were finally born, the boy, he didn't make it. He died during birth." "Lena?" Ethan whispered, tears rolling down his face. "Only Emily survived." Lena was crying openly now. "And I was alone, trying to raise my daughter, trying not to think about the son I lost, trying not to hate you for not being there." Ethan stepped closer and hugged her. She resisted for a second, then gave in, crying on his shoulder. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry, Lena. If I had known, but you didn't know. And I went through all of it alone. I know, and I can never fix that. But I swear I'll spend the rest of my life trying." Lena pulled away, wiping her eyes. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Ethan." "I understand." The doctor came down the hall. "Emily's doing well, but I'll keep her under observation tonight, just to be safe." Lena nodded. "Thank you, doctor." When the doctor left, they went back into the room. Emily was sleeping peacefully, her face calm. Ethan pulled up a chair and sat by the bed. "I'm staying, all night." Lena looked at him, surprised. "You don't have to. I need to. She's my daughter, and I've already lost too much time." Lena stayed quiet, then sat down in the other chair. And the two of them spent the night there, side by side, watching over the little girl who connected them. The soft morning light came in through the hospital windows. Lena woke up with a sore neck, still sitting in the uncomfortable chair next to Emily's bed. The girl was sleeping peacefully, her breathing calm and steady. The IV dripped slowly beside her. Lena rubbed her eyes and looked to the other side. Ethan was sleeping too, his head resting against the wall, arms crossed. He looked exhausted, but he had stayed there all night. Something stirred inside her. An old memory of when he used to do this. Stay by her side, protect her, be the man she could count on. But that was a long time ago. Ethan's phone buzzed on the table next to him, lighting up the screen. Lena saw it by accident. The message was visible. Urgent. Emergency meeting tomorrow. If you don't come back now, we lose everything. Gregory has taken control. Jennifer. Lena felt a tightness in her chest. Of course, New York. The company is real world. Ethan woke up from the vibration and quickly grabbed his phone. He read the message and closed his eyes like he was fighting something inside. "Trouble?" Lena asked, her voice cold. He looked at her, surprised she was awake. "Yeah, it's from the company." "Sounds serious." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It is. Very serious." Lena looked away. "So you're leaving?" "No. I don't know. I need to think." "You don't need to think, Ethan. You've always known what choice you'd make." He said nothing. The doctor came in at that moment, smiling. "Good morning. I'm here to check on little Emily." He examined the girl, who slowly opened her eyes, blinking. "Hi, Mommy?" Her voice was stronger this time. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" "Better. I'm just hungry." The doctor laughed. "That's a very good sign. I'll discharge her in a few hours after breakfast and the last dose of medicine." "Thank you, doctor." Lena smiled, relieved. When the doctor left, Emily looked at Ethan. "You stayed all night?" "I did." "Why?" Ethan hesitated, looking at Lena, who was also waiting for the answer. "Because I wanted to make sure you were okay." Emily smiled. "You're nice." "So are you." Lena felt something break inside her. The way Ethan looked at Emily, the tenderness in his eyes, it was real, not an act. But it didn't change the fact that he was going to leave. He always left. A few hours later, Emily was discharged. They drove back to the farm in silence. Lena at the wheel, Emily dozing in the back seat, Ethan staring out the window. When they arrived, Lena helped Emily inside and tucked her into bed to rest. Ethan stayed in the living room, looking around. The simple house, the old furniture, the photos on the wall, everything there had been built with love and sacrifice. Lena came down the stairs and found him standing in front of an old picture of the two of them, taken years ago, smiling by the creek. "I couldn't throw it away," she said softly, "no matter how hard I tried." Ethan turned to her. "Lena, I need to tell you something." She crossed her arms, bracing herself. "They're pressuring me to go back to New York. The situation is critical. If I don't go, I could lose everything." "Then go." "I will, but I'll fix things quickly and come back. I promise." Lena let out a humorless laugh. "You always say that. This time it's different." "Is it?" She looked at him. "Because I've heard this story before, Ethan. You always say you'll come back, always say it's just a quick trip, and then I will come back." He insisted, holding her shoulders. "I have a daughter here, I have you. I have real reasons to come back. You had reasons before too, and you still left." He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. Lena stepped away. "Go, Ethan. Go back to your life in New York. I won't stop you. Lena, just don't make promises you can't keep. Not in front of Emily." She went upstairs, leaving him alone. Ethan stood there, torn between two worlds. And for the first time in his life, he didn't know which one to choose. 2 hours later, Ethan was packing his bags at the inn. Jennifer had already booked the flight. He was leaving that afternoon. But something was eating away at him. Lena was right. He always said he'd come back. And he never did. Would this time really be different? He picked up his phone and typed a message to Lena. "I'll come back. This time, it's a real promise." But he erased it before sending. Words didn't mean anything. Not anymore. He needed to prove it with actions. Back at the farm, Emily woke up and came downstairs. "Mommy, where's Ethan?" Lena was in the kitchen, pretending to be okay. "He had to go back to New York, sweetheart. But he's coming back, right?" Lena hesitated. "I don't know, honey." Emily frowned. "But I liked him. I know. You liked him too, didn't you?" Lena sighed. "It's complicated." Emily crossed her arms, perfectly imitating her mother. Grown-ups always say things are complicated when they don't want to explain. Lena couldn't hold back a smile. "When did you get so clever?" "I've always been. You just didn't notice." Back in New York, Ethan buried himself in work. The emergency meeting was tense. Gregory had gathered allies and was trying to push him out of the presidency. The shareholders were nervous, canceled contracts were piling up, and the losses kept growing. Ethan fought back. He argued, negotiated, used every corporate skill he had. But somewhere in the middle of the fight, he realized something strange. He didn't care anymore, not in the same way. The numbers on the screen, the profit charts, the million-dollar deals, they all felt empty. His thoughts kept drifting back to Willow Creek, to the farm, to Emily's smile, to the hurt look in Lena's eyes. For the first time, money didn't seem to matter. A week went by. Ethan managed to stabilize the company for now, but things were far from over. Gregory kept pressing, and the fight would be long. But Ethan couldn't stand being away any longer. He grabbed a pen and paper and wrote a letter to Lena. Short, direct, honest. "Lena, I found out what made me rich didn't fit in a bank account. I'm coming back. Ethan." He sent it by mail and waited. 3 days later, the letter arrived in Willow Creek. Lena read it alone on the porch, her heart tight. She wanted to believe. She really did. But before she could even process it, her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, showed up at the gate with a worried look. "Lena, dear, did you hear?" "Hear what?" "About the auction. They're saying your farm is going to be auctioned off because of old debts. Something about back taxes." Lena's blood ran cold. What? That doesn't make any sense. I paid everything. I don't know the details, sweetie, but everyone in town is talking about it. After the neighbor left, Lena ran inside and started digging through her paperwork. She found an official notice that had arrived days earlier, but she hadn't seen it with all the recent chaos. Auction set for 2 weeks from now. Impossible. She was sure all the taxes were paid. Unless, Gregory, it had to be him. Tampering with documents, creating fake debts. Lena sat on the floor, head in her hands. She was going to lose everything. Emily appeared at the doorway. Mommy, what's wrong? Nothing, sweetheart. Everything's fine. But Emily wasn't fooled. You're crying. I'm just tired. Emily came closer and hugged her mother. It's gonna be okay, Mommy. I know it will. Lena held her daughter tight, trying to believe those words. But deep down, she was terrified. That night, while Lena lay awake, unable to sleep, Emily had an idea. She crept downstairs quietly, grabbed her mother's phone, and looked for Ethan's contact. With shaky fingers, she recorded a voice message. Hi, Ethan. It's Emily. I know you're busy in New York, but Mommy needs you. She won't say it because she's proud. But we're going to lose the farm, and she's really sad. If you really like Mommy, come back home. We can plant things together. I'll teach you. She hit send before she lost her nerve. Then deleted the sent message and put the phone back. She went back upstairs and got into bed, praying that Ethan would hear it and come back. Because even though she was just a child, Emily knew one thing. Her mom needed that man. And maybe, just maybe, he needed them too. It was 3 in the morning in New York when Ethan's phone buzzed. He was in his office, alone, surrounded by documents and spreadsheets. Another sleepless night trying to save a company that felt less and less worth saving. He picked up the phone distractedly, expecting another urgent message from Jennifer. But it was a voice message, from a number in Willow Creek. He frowned and pressed play. The voice that came through was small, sweet, and a little unsure. Hi, Ethan, it's Emily. His heart stopped. I know you're busy in New York, but Mommy needs you. She won't say it because she's proud, but we're going to lose the farm. And she's really sad. Ethan's chest tightened. If you really like Mommy, come back home. We can plant things together. I'll teach you. The message ended. Ethan stood still, holding the phone, feeling something break open inside him. That voice, those words. His daughter, asking him to come back, offering to teach him how to plant. Suddenly, all the contracts, all the deals, all the money in the world meant nothing. He grabbed the phone and called Jennifer. Mr. Cole? It's 3 in the morning. I need information, now, about the Willow Creek project. Check if there's been any recent activity related to property auctions. On the other end, Jennifer yawned but started typing. Let me see. Yes. There's an auction order for the property registered under Lena Brooks, delinquent tax debts. The auction is scheduled for 10 days from now. Who filed the order? It was... Wait, this is strange. The order came from a subsidiary of our company, authorized by Gregory Hale. Ethan clenched his fists. That bastard. Sir? Schedule a meeting with Gregory Hale, tomorrow morning. First, sir, he won't. I'm not asking, Jennifer. Just schedule it. He hung up and looked out the window at the lights of the city that never sleeps. Gregory was using the company to destroy Lena. He was manipulating documents, creating fake debts, doing everything to force the auction of the farm. But Ethan wasn't going to let that happen. Not this time. The next morning, Ethan stormed into the meeting room like a hurricane. Gregory Hale was seated at the head of the table, smiling with that arrogant look Ethan had always hated. Ethan, what a surprise. I thought you were still playing farmer out in the country. We need to talk, alone. Gregory dismissed the assistants with a wave. Once the door closed, Ethan stepped closer. Willow Creek. Lena Brooks's farm. That was you, wasn't it? Gregory smiled. Ah, so you figured it out. Congratulations. You created fake debts, manipulated documents, forced an auction. All perfectly legal, my friend. Back taxes are back taxes. That's a lie. She paid everything. You forged the documents. Gregory stood up, adjusting his tie. Prove it. Ethan took a step toward him. Cancel the auction. Now. Or what? You'll fire me? Gregory laughed. Ethan, you're barely hanging on to the presidency. Half the shareholders are already with me. Soon you'll be out and I'll be running the show. I don't care about being president. I care about that farm. Oh, how touching. Gregory mocked. But it won't change a thing. I'm going to buy that farm, for a bargain. and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Ethan stared at him, his jaw tight. We'll see. He left the room and called Jennifer again. Cancel all my appointments. I'm going back to Willow Creek. But sir, the shareholders meeting, cancel. Everything. For the first time in his career, Ethan Cole chose something other than work. He chose his family. Lena was at the bank, sitting in an uncomfortable chair, waiting to be called. She had only slept 2 hours the night before and had spent the rest of the time trying to understand how this had happened. She was sure she had paid all the taxes, she had the receipts, everything was organized. But somehow, the bank claimed there were debts she didn't recognize. Miss Brooks? The manager, Mr. Palmer, called. Lena walked into the office, trying to stay composed. Mr. Palmer, I need to understand what's going on. I paid all the taxes on the farm. I have the proof. The manager adjusted his glasses, pretending to be sympathetic. Ms. Brooks, I understand your frustration, but the records show accumulated debts over the past 3 years. If they aren't settled before the auction, there's nothing I can do. That doesn't make any sense. I've never missed a payment. Maybe there was a mistake. These things happen. Lena was about to respond when she heard a voice behind her. She didn't make a mistake. She turned quickly. Ethan was standing in the doorway, a folder under his arm. Her heart skipped a beat. Ethan? What are you doing here? He stepped into the office, looking straight at the manager. I'm here to fix a problem. Lena stood up, her face flushed. Came to help your business partners buy my farm now? Ethan looked at her calmly. No, I came to rebuild what I let fall apart. The room went quiet. The manager cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. Mr. Cole, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I know exactly what I'm talking about, Palmer. Ethan opened the folder and threw the documents on the desk. These debts are fake, forged by Gregory Hale using subsidiaries of my company, and you're involved up to your neck. The manager turned pale. I don't know what you're talking about. No? Ethan gave a cold smile. Because these documents show suspicious transfers from your personal account. Payments from shell companies linked to Gregory. Palmer swallowed hard. That doesn't prove anything. It proves enough for a federal investigation. Ethan crossed his arms. And when that happens, you'll lose your job, your license, and probably end up in jail. The manager looked at the papers, sweating. What do you want? Cancel the auction, now, and erase all those fake debts from the system. Palmer hesitated, looking between Ethan and Lena. I can't just... You can, and you will, or I hand this over to the authorities within the hour. The manager took a deep breath and typed something on his computer. Done. The auction's been canceled. The debts have been removed. Ethan smiled. Great. Now I'm going to pay whatever it takes to make sure this farm is never threatened again. He pulled out his checkbook and wrote a generous amount. This covers any past due property taxes and creates a safety cushion. Satisfied? Palmer took the check with trembling hands. Yes, sir. Good. Now get out of my sight before I change my mind about reporting you. The manager ran out of his own office. Lena stood still, trying to process what had just happened. Ethan turned to her. The farm is safe. She opened her mouth but couldn't speak. He stepped closer. This time, I want to earn it. Lena felt her eyes fill with tears. Ethan, I know I don't deserve your trust. I know I messed everything up. But if you give me a chance, I'll prove I've changed. She looked at him for a long moment. Then finally she nodded. All right, but you're gonna need more boots, Ethan smiled. I already bought 3 pairs. Lena couldn't help laughing. And for the first time in days, she felt like maybe things could turn out okay. In the days that followed, Ethan officially moved to Willow Creek. He rented a small house near the farm and started working alongside Lena. He learned how to plant, to water, to fix fences. He knocked over tomatoes, tripped on hose, got covered in mud from head to toe, and Lena laughed. She laughed a lot. You're terrible at this, she shouted when he watered the wrong plants. I'm learning. You're ruining my garden. But despite the teasing, there was something different between them. A lightness, a connection. At night, while they had dinner together, Ethan finally said, I want to tell Emily that I'm her father. Lena stopped eating. Ethan? She deserves to know. I know, but... Lena hesitated. What if you leave again? I won't. How can I be sure? He held her hand. Because now I know what really matters. And it's not in New York. Lena stayed quiet, torn. Just wait a little longer, please. Ethan nodded, even though he was disappointed. All right, I'll wait. A few days later, Willow Creek's peace was disturbed again. A man in a flawless suit showed up in town, asking questions, visiting properties. He claimed to be an investor interested in buying land. And when he finally showed up at Lena's farm, Ethan got a chill. There was something familiar about this man, something dangerous, and he had a feeling the fight was far from over. The man arrived in a shiny black car, so clean it looked like it had never touched a dirt road. Lena was in the yard, hanging clothes on the line, when she heard the sound of the engine. Emily played nearby, chasing butterflies. The man got out of the car with careful movements. A perfect gray suit, Italian shoes that gleamed in the sun, hair neatly combed. He smiled with the kind of smile salesmen use, polite but empty. Good morning, he waved. My name is Victor Hale. I'm looking for the owner of this beautiful farm. Lena put down the basket of clothes and stepped forward, wiping her hands on her apron. That's me, Lena Brooks. Can I help you? Victor held out his hand. Lena shook it, noticing how soft his hand was. No calluses, no signs of work. Pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Brooks. I'm a real estate investor, and I'm very interested in rural properties in this region. Is that so? Lena crossed her arms. And what would a city investor want with Willow Creek? This town has incredible potential. Victor opened his arms dramatically. Fresh air, beautiful scenery, perfect for tourism development, and your farm. He looked around, evaluating. Your farm is the key piece. Key piece for what? For a project that will bring prosperity to the whole region. Boutique hotels, restaurants, recreation areas. Lena cut him off. And you want to buy my land for that? Exactly. Victor smiled wide. And I'm prepared to offer a very generous amount, well above market value. Lena looked him up and down, her face unreadable. It's not for sale. Victor's smile faltered for a second. Mrs. Brooks, maybe you didn't understand. I'm talking about a fortune, enough for you and your daughter to live comfortably for the rest of your lives. I understood perfectly, and the answer is still no. Victor adjusted his tie, clearly not used to hearing no. May I ask why? Because this farm isn't just a piece of land. It's my home. It's where my daughter grew up. It's where I built my life. Lena took a step toward him. And I already almost lost this farm once. I won't lose it again. Victor kept smiling, but there was tension in his eyes. I understand the sentimental value, but Mrs. Brooks, sometimes you have to be practical. The money I'm offering you could buy another house, another life, but you can't buy memories, you can't buy roots. Lena tilted her head. And honestly, you look more like a store mannequin than someone who knows anything about land. Emily, who had been listening the whole time, let out a giggle. Victor turned red. Mannequin? Yeah, all neat and tidy, not a hair out of place, shoes shining like mirrors. I bet you've never planted anything in your life, except bad ideas in other people's heads. Ethan, walking over from the barn, heard the last part and almost laughed out loud. Victor noticed him, and his expression shifted slightly. Recognition. And something else. Ethan Cole. What a surprise. Lena looked between the two of them, confused. You two know each other? Ethan came closer, his posture tense. I know the name. Hale. You related to Gregory Hale? Victor smiled. My cousin, but that's just a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Well, the business world's a small place, Mr. Cole. Victor turned back to Lena. Mrs. Brooks, I'll leave my card. If you change your mind, give me a call. The offer stands for now. He handed over the card and walked back to his car, leaving down the dirt road with the same calculated elegance he'd arrived with. When the car was gone, Lena turned to Ethan. Who was that? Trouble, Ethan answered, his face tight. That night, Ethan called Jennifer. I need everything on Victor Hale. Everything. Already on it, sir. He showed up out of nowhere a few months ago, making aggressive investments in rural areas. Always partnered with Gregory Hale. Ethan closed his eyes. Of course. Sir, looks like they're using Lena's farm as leverage. If they manage to buy it, they'll control the whole area and pressure other landowners. And pressure me too. Exactly. Gregory knows you care about that farm. He's using it against you. Ethan hung up, furious. Gregory wasn't letting go. He was playing dirty, using Ethan's own family as pawns, and Ethan needed to protect Lena without her knowing. But as always, Lena wasn't easy to fool. 2 days later, Lena showed up at Ethan's door, arms crossed. We need to talk. Ethan was putting tools away, but stopped when he saw the look on her face. About what? About Victor Hale, about Gregory Hale, and about whatever it is you're not telling me. He sighed. Lena, don't give me that. She walked into the house. I saw the way you looked at that man. I know something's wrong, and I deserve to know what it is. Ethan dropped the tools and sat down. Victor is Gregory's cousin. They're working together. And they're using your farm to get to me. If they buy your land, they'll control the entire area. They'll be able to blackmail me, force me out of the company, destroy everything. Lena went quiet, trying to process. So, they want my farm because of you? Not exactly. They want the farm either way, but they're using my connection to you as an added advantage. Your connection to me. Lena repeated quietly, because now I'm your weakness. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. She exploded. Emily and I are targets because you came back, because you decided to play farmer while your enemies use us like pieces in some corporate game. Lena, I'm trying to protect you. Protect us? She gave a bitter laugh. You're bringing danger. First Gregory, now Victor. Who knows who else is coming next? Ethan stood up. I'm not going to let anything happen to you or Emily. You can't promise that. Lena shouted, her eyes full of tears. You can't just show up here, turn my life upside down, and promise to protect everything. I'm trying. Trying isn't enough. Silence fell between them, heavy and painful. Lena took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I trusted you. Again and again, you kept things from me. I was just trying not to worry you. I don't need you to protect me from the truth, Ethan. I need you to be honest. He opened his mouth, but couldn't find the right words. Lena shook her head, disappointed. I thought this time would be different. I thought you'd really changed. I have changed. Changed? She stared at him. People who change don't hide the truth. They don't manipulate situations. They don't treat others like they're too fragile to handle reality. Lena, please. She turned to leave, but stopped at the door. I need time to think about all of this. How much time? I don't know. She looked back at him, her eyes tired. I just know I can't keep doing this. Always waiting for the next secret you're hiding from me. And she walked out, leaving Ethan alone again. He sat down, head in his hands. He had messed everything up, again. He tried to protect Lena by hiding the truth, but only ended up pushing her away again. And for the first time, Ethan wondered if he really deserved a second chance. Or if he was just meant to ruin everything he touched. Lena didn't sleep that night. She sat on the porch, staring at the stars, trying to sort out her thoughts. Ethan had lied again, or at least kept something from her. And that hurt more than she cared to admit. You never change, Ethan. She whispered into the wind. There's always something you don't tell me. The next morning, Ethan showed up at the farmhouse door. Lena saw him through the window and almost didn't answer. But Emily ran ahead of her. Ethan, the girl opened the door smiling. Hi, sweetheart. Is your mom home? Lena appeared behind Emily, arms crossed. What do you want? To talk, please. We already talked. No, you talked and I listened. Now I need to talk, and you need to listen. Emily looked between the two of them, confused. Mommy, why are you fighting? We're not fighting, sweetheart. It's just complicated. That word again. Emily rolled her eyes, perfectly imitating her mother. Lena couldn't help but smile a little. Ethan took the chance. Lena, I know I messed up. I should have told you about Victor from the beginning, but I was trying to protect you. Protect me by hiding the truth? Lena let out a humorless laugh. That's not protection, Ethan. That's control. You're right, I know, and I'm sorry. Saying sorry doesn't change the fact that you always do this. You always decide for me, always hide things, always think you know what's best. Her voice rose, and Emily started to look scared. Mommy, Emily, go to your room. Lena said, sharper than she meant to. But now, the girl ran off, tears rolling down her cheeks. Ethan looked at the direction Emily had gone, his heart heavy. Lena, she's crying, Lena shouted, frustrated. But I can't take this anymore. I can't take you showing up, promising to change, and then she stopped, her voice breaking. Ethan took a step toward her, but Lena backed away. No, I need space. I need to think. And she went inside, closing the door. Ethan stood there in the yard, alone, listening to Emily's sobs coming from the barn. He made a decision. He found Emily sitting in a corner of the barn, hugging her knees, crying. Emily? He approached slowly. She looked up, her face red and wet. Are you going away again? The words hit Ethan like a punch. What? That's what grown-ups do when they fight. They go away. Ethan sat down next to her. I'm not going away. Promise? He took a deep breath. It was time to tell the truth. Emily, I need to tell you something important. She looked at him, curious. What? I'm your father. Silence fell between them. Emily blinked, trying to understand. My dad? Yes. When I left a long time ago, I didn't know you existed. I didn't know your mom was pregnant. If I had known, I never would have left. So, you didn't leave me on purpose? No, never. And now that I know you exist, I'm not going anywhere. Emily stayed quiet, tears still falling. I know I made mistakes. Ethan continued, his voice shaking. But I don't want to lose you or your mom again. Now, Emily looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly, she moved closer and hugged him. Ethan hugged her back, and finally let his own tears fall. I always wanted a dad, Emily whispered. And I always wanted a daughter, I just didn't know. They stayed there, holding each other, until Emily finally pulled back. Can we tell Mommy? She already knows, but maybe we can tell her again, together. Emily nodded and took his hand. They walked back to the house together. Lena was in the kitchen, wiping her eyes when she saw the two of them walk in holding hands. Her heart tightened. Mommy, Emily said seriously. Ethan told me that he's my dad. Lena looked at Ethan, surprised. Emily, it's okay, Mommy. The girl smiled. I understand, and I'm happy. Lena knelt down and hugged her daughter. Are you sure? I'm sure. Emily pulled back. And I think you should forgive him too. He looks really sorry. Lena looked at Ethan standing by the door, vulnerable, sincere. She realized something. He was different. He wasn't the same arrogant man who left 7 years ago. He had changed, for real. Ethan, Lena began. I know, I messed up again, but I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. She sighed, tired of fighting what she felt. You're impossible. I know, and stubborn. That too. And a fool. Definitely. Emily laughed. Lena smiled finally. All right, but no more secrets. Never again. I promise. The next day, a meeting was called at the Willow Creek Town Hall. Victor Hale was there, trying to convince the landowners to sell. But Ethan had other plans. He walked into the meeting with documents in hand and laid everything out. The illegal plans to buy land, the manipulation, the partnership with Gregory to cheat landowners. The whole town was in shock. Victor tried to deny it, but the evidence was undeniable. In the end, he was escorted out by local authorities, exposed and humiliated. The town applauded Ethan, and Lena, sitting in the audience, felt her chest warm with pride. After the meeting, she found him outside. You did the right thing, she said. I learned from the right woman. Lena smiled. Maybe you really have changed after all. He stepped closer. Or maybe I just finally listened to the right woman. They hugged, and for the first time in a long time, Lena felt she was exactly where she was meant to be. But before they could say anything else, Emily came running over. I have an idea. The two of them laughed. A few days later, Lena and Ethan were sitting on the porch, curious. Who do you think sent that letter? Lena asked. I don't know, but I think we should find out. They searched for days until they finally found the answer. It had been Mrs. Thompson, Lena's neighbor. When they confronted her, she admitted it with tears in her eyes. I sent it because I couldn't stand seeing you suffer alone, Lena. And watching Emily grow up without a father. You deserved the truth. And Ethan deserved to know. Lena hugged the neighbor, deeply moved. Thank you for everything. Ethan thanked her too, realizing that this woman had changed his life. And for the first time, everything felt like it was finally in the right place. The weeks that followed were the happiest Lena had lived in years. Ethan officially moved to Willow Creek, splitting his time between the farm and handling the last company matters remotely from New York. He had delegated most of the responsibilities and was now focused on what really mattered. The three of them fell into a natural rhythm, as if it had always been that way. Ethan got up early to help on the farm. Emily patiently taught him how to plant like a 7-year-old teacher, and Lena laughed at all his mistakes. And there were still plenty. That Friday night, the three of them sat down for dinner in the kitchen. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and fresh salad from the garden. This mashed potato is so good, Mommy, Emily said, mouth full. Thank you, sweetheart, but don't talk with your mouth full. Sorry. Emily swallowed and wiped her mouth. Can I ask a question? Of course. Lena answered, slicing the chicken. Emily looked back and forth between her mom and Ethan, thoughtful. If you two like each other so much, why don't you just get married already? The silence at the table landed like a bomb. Lena choked on her juice, coughing. Ethan patted her back, trying not to laugh. Are you okay? He asked. I'm fine. Lena wiped her mouth, her face red. Emily, what kind of question is that? It's a normal question, Emily shrugged. You two keep looking at each other, laughing together, working together. At school, when people do that, they're dating, and when they date a long time, they get married. Ethan couldn't help it, he laughed. She's got a point. Lena stared at him. You're laughing at this? I am. Because she's right. Emily smiled triumphantly. See? Even Daddy agrees with me. Lena opened her mouth but couldn't get a word out. Ethan leaned toward Emily, whispering just loud enough for Lena to hear. You just ruined the surprise, Princess. Emily's eyes widened. You were going to propose? Maybe. When? That's a secret. But did I ruin it? A little. Ethan smiled. But it's okay. Lena watched the two of them, her heart full of emotion. You two are impossible. You always say that. Emily replied, perfectly copying her mom's tone. Lena laughed at last, and the tension melted into laughter and teasing for the rest of the evening. In the days that followed, the relationship between Lena and Ethan blossomed in a way neither of them had expected. They worked side by side on the farm, argued over silly things, made up laughing, and slowly remembered why they had fallen in love all those years ago. One afternoon, while fixing a fence together, Lena dropped the hammer on her foot again. Ouch! Why does this always happen to me? Ethan laughed. Because you're distracted. I am not distracted. The hammer's just sneaky. Sure, it's always the hammer's fault. Lena tossed a small rock at him, laughing. He dodged it and chased her around the yard. Emily watched from the porch, smiling. You two look like kids, and you look like a grown-up. Lena shouted back, still running. Ethan caught up to her and grabbed her by the waist, spinning her around. Put me down, she laughed, out of breath. Only if you promise to stop throwing rocks at me. Never. They fell into the grass, laughing like two teenagers in love. Emily ran down and jumped on top of them. Group hug? And there they stayed, the three of them lying in the grass, looking up at the blue sky. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan asked Lena to sit with him on the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. What is it? Lena asked, curious. Ethan took a deep breath. There's something I want to ask you. You're sounding serious. Yeah, kind of. He stood up and, to her surprise, got down on one knee. Lena's eyes went wide. Ethan, what are you doing? He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it, revealing a simple gold ring with a small stone. Lena Brooks. He began, his voice trembling a little. I messed everything up once. I left when I should have stayed. I left you alone when I should have been by your side, but you gave me a second chance, and I promise I won't waste it. Lena felt tears welling up in her eyes. Can I finally be your home, stand by your side forever, until we grow old together? She let out a teary laugh, wiping her eyes. Only if you promise to never run from the rain again. Ethan smiled. I promise. I'll face every storm by your side. Then yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a kiss. From the window, Emily shouted. Finally. They pulled apart, laughing. Emily ran out to the porch and jumped into their arms. We're getting married. We're getting married. Lena hugged her daughter and Ethan, feeling like everything was finally where it belonged. The next month was a whirlwind of preparations. Lena insisted on a simple wedding, right there on the farm, with just close friends and neighbors. Emily helped pick the flowers, the decorations, and insisted on being the flower girl. I'm going to toss petals, she announced proudly. Are you going to toss petals, or toss them at someone? Lena asked, suspicious. I'll toss them gently. I promise. Ethan helped wherever he could, but mostly he was in awe watching Lena plan everything with so much care. The day before the wedding, while Lena was finishing the last details, the mailman arrived with a letter. She grabbed it absent-mindedly, but stopped when she saw the sender, New York. The seal was from a law office. Lena opened it slowly, reading the contents. Her face went pale. Ethan, who was outside, noticed the change. Lena, what is it? She looked up, the letter trembling in her hands. It's about the company. About Gregory. What about it? Lena handed him the letter, and Ethan felt his blood run cold as he read. Ethan read the letter twice, trying to process what it said. The company had been sold. All of his shares, all of his rights, everything transferred to an investment fund for an impressive amount, and a significant portion of the profits had already been deposited into an account under the name of Lena's farm. Lena looked at him, confused. "Ethan, what does this mean?" He took a deep breath. "It means I sold my share of the company." "You what?" "I sold it 2 weeks ago. Before Gregory could push me out, I sold everything, and I deposited half the profits into the farm's account." Lena was speechless. "Why?" Ethan took her hands. "Because I don't want that life anymore. I don't want New York or meetings or corporate games. I want this. I want you, Emily, the farm. I want Willow Creek to be our future, not just my past." Tears filled Lena's eyes. "But that was everything you built." "No, this is everything I built." He pointed around at the farm, the house. "The rest was just money, and money doesn't make a family." Lena hugged him tightly. "You're impossible." "I know, but now I'm your impossible." She laughed through her tears. Forever. The wedding day dawned bright and sunny. The farm was decorated in a simple, beautiful way. Wildflowers, white ribbons tied to trees, wooden chairs lined up in the yard. The whole town showed up. Mrs. Patterson was crying in the front row. Mrs. Thompson was helping with the last-minute details. Neighbors, friends, even the corner store owner was there. Ethan waited at the small makeshift altar, wearing jeans, a white shirt, and the same old work hat he used in the fields. Jennifer, his former assistant, had flown in from New York to be there. "Never thought I'd see the day you traded a suit for a farmer's hat," she joked. "Me neither. But here I am." The music began. Emily came out first, wearing a simple pink dress, tossing flower petals along the path. She took the job very seriously, spreading the petals with mathematical precision. Ethan smiled, touched, and then Lena appeared. She wore a simple white cotton dress that reached her knees. On her feet, brown work boots. Ethan let out a joyful laugh. Lena walked up, smiling. "What, you thought I'd wear high heels on the grass? I wouldn't expect anything less from you." She took his hand, and together they stood in front of the pasture. The ceremony was simple, short, and full of emotion. When it came time for the vows, Ethan spoke first. "Lena, I spent years thinking I knew what I wanted. Success, money, power. But when I came back here and saw you again, I realized I was wrong. What I really wanted was you. This life. And I promised to spend every day proving I deserved to be by your side." Lena wiped her eyes and answered, "Ethan, you left me. You hurt me, but you also taught me to be strong. And now that you're back, you've shown me it's possible to forgive. I promise to build this life with you, with patience, with love, and with a few arguments along the way." The guests laughed. The pastor smiled. "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Ethan pulled Lena into a kiss, and the whole town applauded. Emily shouted, "Finally!" and everyone laughed even louder. The celebration was lively. Home-cooked food, live music from a local fiddler, and children running through the yard. Emily went from table to table, telling everyone she finally had a real dad. "And he's terrible at planting," she said proudly. "But he's learning." Ethan listened, laughing. "Thanks for the support, Princess. You're welcome, Daddy." That word still moved him every time he heard it. Lena watched everything, her heart full. Mrs. Thompson walked up. "Are you happy, dear?" "More than I've ever been." "You deserve it." The neighbor hugged Lena. "And Emily deserves a whole family. Thank you for everything. For sending that letter." "Don't thank me. I just did what was right." As the sun began to set, Ethan reached out his hand to Lena. "Come with me." "Where to?" "You'll see." He led her to the lavender fields Lena had planted years ago. The purple flowers swayed gently in the breeze, filling the air with fragrance. "Remember when you told me lavender is a symbol of strength?" Ethan asked. "I remember, because it survives the winter. And it's also a symbol of rebirth." He pulled her close. "Just like us." Lena smiled, her eyes shining. Music started playing in the distance, and Ethan pulled her into a dance. They spun slowly among the lavender, under a sky painted orange and pink. Emily came running, holding a guest's camera. "Take a picture. You two look beautiful." Lena and Ethan posed, smiling, arms around each other. Then Emily joined them, and the three posed together. A family, finally whole. Later, when the guests started to leave, Lena and Ethan sat on the porch, looking up at the stars. "You know what I was thinking?" Ethan asked. "What?" "That day I came back. When I saw you on the farm covered in mud, smiling, you looked like you had everything, while I, with all my fortune, felt empty. And now? Now I get it. You had everything, because you had love, you had purpose, you had roots. Lena rested her head on his shoulder. And now you have that too. They stayed quiet for a moment. Then Ethan whispered, "Now I understand what you meant about what doesn't die in the winter." Lena looked up. "What?" He smiled, holding her hand. "Love, Ethan," she answered, finishing his thought. "Love blooms all year round." And there, under the stars, surrounded by the land that was now theirs, Lena and Ethan made a promise to never be apart again, to build together, to face every storm side by side, because true love doesn't need luxury or power. It only needs deep roots, courage to start over, and the certainty that together they can bloom in any season. And while the moon shone over Willow Creek, inside the house, Emily was writing in her diary, "Today my mommy married my daddy. It took a while, but it was worth the wait, because now we're a real family, and real families bloom together." She closed the notebook, smiled, and went to sleep, dreaming of gardens, laughter, and a future filled with love. What did you think of Lena and Ethan's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to follow all our stories, and be sure to check out more emotional stories by clicking right here on the final screen.